Okay, so today we're really diving deep, like really deep. We're about to explore how ancient Buddhist wisdom can actually help us understand and even grow our finances. It might seem a bit unexpected, this whole connection, but trust me, it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it's not your typical financial advice, that's for sure. We're going to be looking at some key Buddhist principles and practices, especially the whole thing about meditation and how they can actually shape your financial well-being. It's pretty amazing the stuff we found while prepping for this deep dive.
And I think what makes this so interesting is that, we often think of spirituality and money as being totally separate worlds. But what we're going to see is that they're actually way more connected than we might realize. We're calling this the paradox of money and consciousness.
Right, exactly. And to really unpack this whole paradox, we'll start by looking at how your inner world, what's going on inside your mind, really sets the stage for your outer circumstances, especially when it comes to money.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So let's jump right into this paradox then. Our sources kept bringing up this core Buddhist teaching that the way we experience the world around us, well, it's not just some objective reality out there, it's actually a direct reflection of what's happening inside of us.
Yeah, it's like our inner world is like a blueprint or a mold for our experiences. And one of the analogies our sources used to explain this was the idea of a cloudy mirror.
A cloudy mirror, okay.
Right. So imagine you're trying to see yourself in a mirror, but the surface is all grimy, covered in dirt, or maybe it's fogged up. You're not going to see a clear reflection, right? It'll be distorted.
Makes sense.
Well, it's the same idea with our minds. If our thoughts are clouded with, say, constant worry about not having enough money, or if we have this deep-seated belief in scarcity, then that's often what we end up seeing reflected back at us in our financial lives. Even if there are opportunities all around us, our perception might be so distorted that we don't even recognize them, or we might even see them as threats.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful image. So it's like our mindset is the lens through which we view everything, including our finances.
Precisely. And this leads us straight to this paradox of money and consciousness. We tend to spend so much time and energy chasing external wealth, a bigger paycheck, more investments, the next hot stock, but we often neglect the internal world, the mental and emotional landscape that's actually shaping all those external experiences.
So it's kind of like focusing on the symptoms instead of the root cause.
Exactly. You could have the most promising seeds of financial opportunity, a great business idea, a lucky investment. But if the soil of your mind, your core beliefs and attitudes about money is unhealthy, those seeds are going to have a really hard time sprouting and growing.
Right, so it's like planting a seed in, I don't know, concrete or something that's not going to flourish.
Exactly. Our sources really emphasize that this toxic mental soil filled with negativity, doubt, and resentment actually sabotages our efforts to create lasting prosperity.
It really makes you think about those people we all know, right? Some people just seem to attract financial success effortlessly, while others work their tails off but always seem to be struggling.
It's true. And what our sources suggest is that the key difference might not be the amount of effort they're putting in, but rather their fundamental relationship with money, their understanding of money as energy, and how they align themselves with that energy.
Okay, so how do we shift that relationship, make it more aligned with abundance?
Well, our sources brought up this other fascinating Buddhist metaphor, the empty vessel.
Empty vessel, okay.
So picture this. You have a cup, but it's already filled to the brim with murky, dirty water. If you try to pour fresh, clean water into it, it's just going to overflow and mix with all that old gunk, right?
Yeah, not very effective.
Right. And our sources said our minds can be like that cup, already filled with these limiting beliefs about money. Things like, I'll never be rich, or money is evil, or you have to cheat to get ahead. These beliefs act like blockages, preventing the energy of abundance from flowing into our lives.
So how do we empty that cup, so to speak?
That's where meditation comes in. Now, we often think of meditation as just a way to relax and de-stress, which it is. But our sources present it as something much more profound practice that can actually cleanse that metaphorical cup, clearing out those limiting beliefs and making space for the fresh, vibrant energy of abundance.
I like that. A mental cleanse.
Exactly. And it's not just about thinking positive thoughts, it's about becoming aware of those deep-seated beliefs that are often operating below our conscious radar.
So it's like shining a light on those hidden mental blocks.
Precisely. And once we become aware of them, we can start to gently release them and replace them with more empowering beliefs.
Do our sources give any examples of how this actually works in real life?
They do, actually. They shared a story about a graphic designer named Daniel who was really struggling financially. He was talented, but he just couldn't seem to attract clients who were willing to pay him what he deserved.
Sounds familiar.
Right. So he started practicing this really simple abundance visualization technique for just 5 minutes every day. He would imagine invoices getting paid, feel grateful for the money coming in, and really visualize his bank account growing.
And what happened?
Well, after about a month, he started to notice a real shift. He started attracting more clients, and they were actually willing to pay him higher rates. And what's really interesting is that he realized it wasn't like money just magically appeared out of thin air. It was more like his own self-perception had changed. He went from feeling like he was always lacking to actually feeling abundant, and that shift in his energy was reflected in his outer circumstances.
So it's like that old saying, you have to be what you want to attract.
Exactly. Money itself is neutral. It's not inherently good or bad, it's just energy. It's our attitude towards it, whether we approach it from a place of fear and lack or gratitude and abundance, that really matters.
Okay, so we've talked about this inner game, our beliefs and mindset, but what about our actions? Do they influence our financial well-being as well?
They absolutely do, and this is where the Buddhist principle of karma comes in. Now, karma is often misunderstood as some kind of cosmic punishment or reward system, but it's really much simpler than that.
So what is karma then?
In essence, karma is just cause and effect. It's the idea that every action, thought, and intention we put out into the world creates a corresponding effect, a ripple that eventually comes back to us.
Okay, that makes sense. So if we approach money with greed and dishonesty, it's going to come back to bite us.
Exactly. Our sources use this great analogy of a boomerang. If you throw a boomerang out into the world with positive energy, generosity, integrity, gratitude, it's going to come back to you with those same vibes. But if you throw it out with negative energy, greed, deceit, manipulation, well, you better watch out.
So it's not just about making money, it's about how we make it.
Absolutely. Our sources highlighted this concept of right livelihood in Buddhism. It's the idea that we should earn our living in a way that's aligned with our values, that contributes to the well-being of others, and that doesn't cause harm.
So it's like finding that sweet spot where your work is both financially rewarding and ethically aligned.
Precisely. And it's not about becoming a monk or anything like that. It's about infusing your work, whatever it may be, with intention and purpose.
I love that. So it's not just about what we do, but why we do it.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating is that this whole idea of karma and right livelihood is actually supported by modern science. Research has shown that people who regularly engage in acts of generosity and kindness tend to experience greater happiness and even professional success.
So it's like a virtuous cycle. Giving creates more abundance, which allows us to give even more.
Precisely. And this is where meditation comes back into play. It gives us that ability to step back and observe our thoughts and actions without judgment. We can start to see those patterns of scarcity and greed and make a conscious choice to shift them.
So meditation helps us become more aware of our karmic blueprint, so to speak.
Exactly. And one of the specific meditation techniques our sources highlighted is called Tonglen. Now, this might seem a little counterintuitive when we're talking about attracting wealth.
Counterintuitive how?
Well, in Tonglen meditation, you actually visualize the suffering of others, breathe it in, and then exhale compassion and relief.
So it's like taking on the suffering of the world.
In a way, yes. But the idea is that by connecting with the suffering of others, we break free from our own self-centered desires and tap into a deeper sense of universal abundance. It's a powerful way to purify our karmic energy and open ourselves up to receiving blessings.
It sounds almost paradoxical, but I can see how it would create a shift in perspective.
It does. And our sources also mention the use of rituals in Buddhism to attract prosperity. Things like chanting specific mantras, visualizing golden light, creating wealth mandalas.
Like those intricate geometric designs.
Yes, exactly. They're seen as powerful tools to reprogram our subconscious mind and align ourselves with the energy of abundance.
So it's like we're actively shaping our financial reality through these practices.
Precisely. And the key takeaway here is that our financial well-being is deeply interconnected with our spiritual self. Money is just a reflection of our inner world. If we want to experience true abundance, we need to start with our thoughts, our intentions, and our actions.
I love that. So it's not about chasing money, it's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts it.
Exactly. And that's a process that begins within.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the why our internal state and actions are so important for financial well-being. Now let's get into the how. How does meditation actually lead to tangible shifts in our financial lives?
great question. And this is where the ancient wisdom of Buddhism meets the cutting-edge science of the brain. You see, one of the biggest obstacles to financial well-being is stress, especially chronic financial anxiety.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right. Well, research has shown that when we're constantly stressed about money, it actually impairs our ability to make sound decisions. Our creativity gets stifled, our problem-solving skills go out the window, and even our brains start to shrink in the areas responsible for planning and rational thinking.
No wonder I feel so scattered when I'm worried about money.
Exactly. But here's the good news. Meditation has been scientifically proven to reduce stress. Studies show that consistent mindfulness practice can significantly lower levels of stress hormones, like cortisol, and activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our body's natural rest and digest mode.
So it's like hitting the reset button on our frazzled brains.
Exactly. And when we're less stressed, we're able to approach financial matters with more clarity and balance. We're less likely to make impulsive decisions based on fear or scarcity.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But is there any evidence that meditation can actually change our brains for the better?
There is. It's this amazing concept called neuroplasticity. It basically means that our brains are constantly changing and adapting based on our experiences. And get this, research from Harvard University has shown that just 8 weeks of mindfulness meditation can actually increase the density of gray matter in areas of the brain associated with self-awareness, compassion, and emotional regulation.
Wow, so meditation is literally rewiring our brains for the better.
Exactly. And what's particularly interesting is that these brain changes are happening in areas that are directly related to our financial well-being. For example, when we're more self-aware, we can start to notice and challenge those limiting beliefs about money that might be holding us back.
Right, so it's like we're upgrading our internal operating system.
Exactly. And our sources shared a great story about an entrepreneur named Sarah who really illustrates this principle. Sarah was incredibly talented, but she constantly struggled with self-doubt, which prevented her from charging what she was worth and going after bigger opportunities.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
Right. Well, Sarah decided to start incorporating a simple gratitude meditation into her daily routine. Every day, she would spend just 5 minutes focusing on what she was grateful for in her business and her life.
And what happened?
Well, at first it felt a little awkward for her. She wasn't used to acknowledging her accomplishments or her worth. But over time, this consistent practice of gratitude started to shift her self-perception. She began to see herself as someone who was deserving of abundance, and that shift in her energy was reflected in her external reality. Within 6 months, her income had tripled.
That's amazing. So it's like by focusing on gratitude, she actually started to attract more abundance into her life.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating is that this shift didn't come from working harder or longer hours. It came from a fundamental change in her self-belief. She went from feeling like she was constantly striving to actually embodying the energy of abundance.
It really reinforces the idea that our inner world shapes our outer reality.
It does. And our sources highlighted this Buddhist concept called dependent origination. It basically means that our financial situations aren't fixed. They're constantly being shaped and influenced by our thoughts, actions, and the environment around us.
But we're not just victims of circumstance. We actually have the power to create the financial reality we desire.
Precisely. And meditation is a powerful tool for doing just that. It helps us to become more conscious creators of our lives rather than passive bystanders.
So how exactly can we use meditation to manifest our financial goals?
Well, one really powerful technique is visualization. In Buddhism, visualization is often used to cultivate positive qualities like compassion and wisdom. But it can also be applied to our financial goals. By vividly imagining ourselves achieving those goals, engaging all of our senses, and really feeling the emotions associated with that success, we're actually strengthening the neural pathways in our brain that make those outcomes more likely to manifest.
So it's like we're pre-paving the road to success.
Exactly. And another powerful technique is mantra meditation. This involves repeating specific sounds or phrases that are designed to shift our consciousness and reprogram our subconscious mind. For example, we might choose a mantra like, I am abundant, or money flows to me effortlessly, and repeat it silently to ourselves during meditation.
So it's like we're planting seeds of abundance in our minds.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that this ancient practice of mantra meditation has a lot in common with modern cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. CBT is based on the idea that by changing our thoughts, we can change our emotions and behaviors. And mantra meditation is essentially a way to do just that, to rewire our brains with more positive and empowering beliefs.
It's amazing how these ancient wisdom traditions are being validated by modern science.
It is. And finally, our sources highlighted the importance of dana paramita, which is the perfection of generosity. It's the idea that by giving freely of our time, energy, and resources, we actually create more abundance in our lives.
So it's like the more we give, the more we receive.
Exactly. And generosity doesn't just mean giving money. It can also be about giving our time, our skills, our kindness, our attention. It's about shifting our focus from lack to abundance and operating from a place of already having enough.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Can we summarize the key takeaways of this section?
Absolutely. The key message here is that meditation is an active and engaged practice. It's about consciously planting seeds of intention and then diligently nurturing them with consistent attention and care. It's about recognizing that every breath we take, every thought we observe, and every moment of stillness we cultivate is an opportunity to align ourselves with the natural flow of abundance.
I love that. It's a very empowering perspective. So how do we take all these abstract ideas and turn them into concrete actions? How do we actually integrate these Buddhist principles into our daily lives?
Well, one powerful way is through the use of rituals. Rituals are essentially intentional acts that we perform to connect with something greater than ourselves and create a sense of sacredness in our lives. And throughout history, people have used rituals to attract wealth and prosperity.
So it's like we're consciously creating a space for abundance to enter our lives.
Exactly. And our sources highlighted a specific Buddhist ritual called creating a wealth mandala. This involves gathering items that represent abundance to you, things like special coins, gemstones, images from nature, and arranging them in a circular pattern.
I've seen those before. They're beautiful.
They are. And the idea is that as you're creating the mandala, you're infusing it with gratitude for what you already have and a clear intention for the abundance you desire. Then you place the mandala somewhere you'll see it regularly as a visual reminder of your commitment to attracting wealth.
That's a lovely idea.
It is. And another ritual that our sources mentioned is journaling, which isn't specifically Buddhist, but it aligns perfectly with the principles of mindfulness and self-reflection. The suggestion is to spend just 5 minutes every evening writing down 3 things you're grateful for in your financial life.
So it's like training our brains to notice and appreciate the abundance that's already present.
Exactly. And for those who want to deepen their meditation practice, our sources suggested incorporating mudras, which are specific hand gestures, into their sessions. For example, the Virata mudra symbolizes generosity and the granting of wishes.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is. And you can pair this mudra with visualizations of golden light flowing into your body to amplify its effects.
So we're essentially using these rituals as tools to shape our energy and attract what we desire.
Precisely. But it's important to remember that rituals aren't magical quick fixes. They require consistent effort and authentic intention. It's like planting a seed. You need to tend to it regularly if you want it to grow.
So consistency is key.
Absolutely. And before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought-provoking question. What kind of relationship do you truly want to have with money?
That's a good question.
It is. Money itself isn't inherently good or bad. It's simply a tool. It's a reflection of our values and our aspirations. And by embracing these Buddhist practices, we can learn to wield this tool with more intention, grace, and purpose.
Okay, so we've explored the why and the how. Now let's get to the culmination of the point where all these ideas come together and we see how inner transformation actually manifests as outer abundance.
Right, and our sources start this section with a really powerful statement. Meditation is not just about achieving a state of peaceful stillness. It's actually about creating movement and change in our lives.
Interesting. So it's not just about being calm, it's about actually doing something.
Exactly. It's like the difference between a still pond and a flowing river. Both can be beautiful, but the river has a dynamic energy that allows it to create and transform.
So meditation helps us to tap into that flow state.
Precisely. It allows us to align our intentions with our actions and set the process of manifestation into motion.
I like that. So it's not just about thinking about our goals, it's about actually taking steps to achieve them.
Exactly. And here's the really interesting part. The effects of meditation actually extend beyond our formal practice. Our sources call this the unexpected twist.
The unexpected twist. Okay, I'm all ears.
Well, they suggest that regular meditation actually upgrades our energetic field, which in Buddhism is called cultivating merit. It's like we're building up a kind of spiritual capital that supports our worldly endeavors.
So it's like we're investing in ourselves on a deeper level.
Precisely. And to explain how this works, our sources use the metaphor of life as a garden. Our thoughts are the seeds, our emotions are the soil, and our actions are the sunlight and water that help those seeds to grow.
Okay, I'm following you.
So, many people spend a lot of time planting seeds, setting goals, making plans, but they neglect to tend to the soil of their minds. Their emotions are filled with negativity, doubt, and fear, which creates a very infertile environment for those seeds to grow.
So it's like trying to grow a garden in the desert.
Exactly. But meditation helps us to cleanse the soil of our minds, removing those toxic emotions and replacing them with the nourishing qualities of clarity, gratitude, and purpose.
So it's like we're creating a fertile ground for our dreams to take root.
Precisely. And beyond that, meditation also enhances our ability to take action. It helps us to become more decisive, more effective, and more aligned with our true purpose.
So it's not just about feeling good, it's about actually getting things done.
Exactly. And our sources shared a great story about a professional named Alex who was experiencing burnout and feeling stuck in his career. Despite his best efforts, he couldn't seem to break through to the next level.
Well, I've been there.
So Alex decided to try a simple practice called loving kindness meditation, also known as metta-bhavana. This involves repeating phrases of well-wishing to yourself and others, things like, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I live with ease.
Sounds very soothing.
It is. And what's amazing is that as Alex continued this practice, he started to attract unexpected opportunities. He got recommended for a high-profile project, he was approached by a potential investor, and his negotiations suddenly became smoother and more favorable.
Wow, so it's like his positive energy was literally attracting good things into his life.
Exactly. And the key takeaway here is that abundance isn't something we chase, it's something we become. And meditation helps us to embody the qualities that naturally attract wealth and well-being.
So it's not about changing the world outside of us, it's about changing the world within us.
Precisely. And to make all of this more practical, our sources provided a step-by-step guide to financial transformation through meditation.
Okay, let's hear it.
The first step is to start with gratitude. Spend a few minutes every day reflecting on the financial blessings you already have in your life. This helps to shift your focus from lack to abundance.
Gratitude is always a good place to start. What's next?
The second step is to visualize your ideal reality. Create a vivid picture in your mind of your dream life in relation to financial success, engaging all of your senses.
Okay, I can do that. What else?
The third step is to use mantras to reinforce your positive beliefs. Choose affirmations that resonate with you, things like, I am worthy of abundance, or money flows to me effortlessly, and repeat them during your meditation.
Okay, affirmations are powerful. What's the fourth step?
The fourth step is to practice Tonglen meditation, which we talked about earlier. This helps us to cultivate generosity and connect with the universal flow of abundance.
Right, sending out compassion and receiving blessings in return. And what's the final step?
The fifth and final step is to end each meditation session with clear, actionable intentions. Commit to taking at least one small step that day towards your financial goals.
So it's about bringing those insights into the real world.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that these practices work best when we're consistent. Just like with compound interest, small, regular contributions can lead to exponential growth over time.
So it's not about making drastic changes, it's about making small, sustainable shifts.
Precisely. And as we wrap up this section, our sources leave us with this powerful thought. What kind of person do you choose to be in relation to money? Will you stay stuck in scarcity and limitation? Or will you embrace the abundance that's available to you?
That's a great question to ponder.
It is. Money is ultimately a reflection of our values and our aspirations. And through the practice of meditation, we can align ourselves with those values and create a financial reality that supports our highest purpose.
Wow, that's a really inspiring message.
It is. And the most important takeaway is this. Meditation has the power to transform our lives, not by magically changing the world outside of us, but by fundamentally changing the world within us.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive. What an incredible journey.
It really has been. We've explored so much, from the power of our inner world to the principles of karma, the science of meditation, and the practical tools for attracting abundance.
So to recap, what are the key things our listeners should take away from this episode?
The first is that our financial reality is a reflection of our internal state. Our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions have a direct impact on our ability to attract and manage wealth.
Right. It all starts from within. What else?
The second is that karma plays a role in our financial lives. The way we approach money, whether with greed or generosity, will eventually come back to us.
Okay, so it's not just about making money. It's about how we make it.
Exactly. And the third key takeaway is that meditation is a powerful tool for transforming our relationship with money. It helps us to release limiting beliefs, cultivate positive emotions, and make more conscious choices.
Right, so it's not just about relaxation. It's about personal growth and empowerment.
Precisely. And as a final thought, we encourage you to explore some of the practical techniques we've discussed today. Experiment with the gratitude journaling, visualization, affirmations, and maybe even try creating your own wealth mandala.
And as you're experimenting with these practices, remember this. If your inner world shapes your outer reality, what small but significant shift will you make today to cultivate a more abundant inner landscape?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with.
It is. And thank you all for joining us on this fascinating deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and inspiration.
And remember, the journey to financial well-being is an ongoing process of growth and transformation. So keep exploring, keep practicing, and keep believing in your own infinite potential.
Until next time.